folks, and welcome back. So we have learned how to create functions. We've learned how to pass information, pass arguments to those functions, and then return a value back from the function to our main function. But what if we wanted a function that's more versatile? One that can accept different types of arguments and then process those arguments as they're sent. For example, let's say we want to write a function that performs a 3D transformation on a set of vertexes that are represented as floats, but we want it to be able to work with integers as well. Instead of writing two separate functions with two different names, we can use a concept called function overloading so that a single function can handle different parameter types. This way you can also call one function and pass the vertices as either floats or integers. We're going to do that using the triple program. And in the triple program, it will triple the value 5, but it will also triple the word gamer. The program triples these values using one function that's been overloaded to work with an argument of two different types. And so we'll go ahead and see how that works. Okay, I've opened up my new text document, and I'm going to save it. Actually, we are in week 9. So I'll create a folder, week 9, and I'm going to name this file triple.cpp. Okay, so my introductory comments, the name of the program is triple, and this demonstrates function overloading. For our initial setup, we want to include IOStream, and we'll be working with a string, so we also want to include the string file. So now I'm going to declare my function prototypes. I'm going to be creating a function that's an integer function called triple that receives an int with an identifier of number. We're also going to declare a string function, and we will pass to that function a string called text. Now, if you notice, both of these functions are going to have the same name. They'll both be called triple. We're overloading them by creating two different declarations. One is an int, one is a string. That way we can send either or. Now I'll open my main function. Tripling 5. And you see, in this case, we're sending it an integer, the number 5. And then tripling gamer. And this time we send it a string, gamer. Okay, now I have int triple, which receives an int called number, and this is the first version of my triple function, and it will return number times 3. Next, I have my string triple function, which receives a string called text. And this time it returns text plus text plus text. And of course, this is concatenation, not addition, so it will just display those three versions of the variable, one right after the other. Okay, so to create an overloaded function, all you have to do is write multiple function definitions with the same name and different parameter lists. Remember that when we declare our function, this is our parameter list. These are the parameters that will be sent to the function. Notice, though, that I don't say anything here about the return type. Okay. Yes, we have different return types, but the important part in overloading is that you have multiple definitions with different parameter lists. Each of these functions has a different parameter list. If you don't have different parameter lists, for example, if both of these were ints, but then I returned an int in one version and a float in another, it would generate a compile error. You absolutely must declare the function to have a different parameter list if you're trying to overload that function. When you call an overloaded function, you call it the same way that you call any other function. You use its name, followed by a set of valid arguments. In this first line, we say that we're tripling 5, so we call the function triple with an integer 5. The second time, we call it with a string gamer. Because we're using this string literal as the argument, the compiler knows to invoke the string version of our function and not the integer version. In the same way, when we pass it an integer, the program knows that it should use the integer version of the triple function and not the string version. It figures that out automatically based on the input that it's given. So let's see how that works. I'll go ahead and save it. And 9. And we'll compile. Run it. And as you can see, let me just make a quick change here. Make this a little more visible. Okay. So the first line of output says tripling 5, and it returns our number 5 times 3. Second time around, it says tripling gamer, and it returns gamer, gamer, gamer. Seeing there that it uses the string version of the function and not the integer version. So that's overloading functions. This is useful, like I said, if you've got a function that you want to be able to accept different types of data. I think the most common use for this would be if you want to receive either text or numbers, like integers or doubles or floats. We will probably see more of this later on in the semester, but that's just a quick overview of overload.